and welcome to Meet in the Middle Movies. This is our first ever live stream. I'm Elan.
I'm Mindee.
And we are a married couple, and we have very, very different activities, I guess you can say, very different hobbies, but we meet in the middle when it comes to movies. And it's been a while since we've done something, so we thought we'd do, instead of one video for each movie we've done over the last few weeks, we thought that we would do a review roundup. So we're just going to have short little reviews on each of these. One of these movies only you saw, one of these movies only I saw. So it's going to be fun. So let's go ahead.
Yeah, and the rest of them we saw together.
Exactly. And so let's go ahead and get started with the movie we last saw, or the first movie we saw since our last movie we saw, whatever, earliest movie we saw, whatever you want to say,
we'll
since
start
the
from
break.
the beginning.
Yeah, and that would be Last Breath. This is based on a true story starring Woody Harrelson and Simu Lee. I thought this was a fun one.
Yeah.
Well, not a fun one, I guess. It's not.
Sure, it's an intense plot. It is based on a true story. However, it's not a particularly well-known story, at least that I knew of, so we won't give away a ton of spoilers or anything. But definitely, they brought you along for the intense ride. You know, no pun intended. We were kind of holding our breath a little bit throughout this movie. So the basic premise is that these divers are going down to work on some pipeline. Things don't exactly go according to plan, and we follow the story of just a really intense situation that happens with these three divers. So again, it was really surprising. This was not a movie that I had kind of on my radar for movies for 2025. However, it really kept me excited, kept me interesting. I'm trying to think of, can you think of any movies like comparable tone or that?
I can't really, because it starts out so like kind of, I don't want to say happy.
Sure, it's pretty, you kind of get to know the characters and their camaraderie with each other, and some of the relationships that a couple of them have at the beginning. So somewhat, I get that, somewhat lighthearted at the beginning. Could only have happened in one certain way, I guess. Anyway, you'll just have to see it to see that, because we really don't want to give things away. But we definitely watched this one with bated breath. It was a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was good.
I thought that Woody Harrelson in particular, I thought he was really, really good in this. I also really liked really the three main guys, the whole cast. I thought did a great job. Simu Liu did a great job. The new actor that played the main character, he did a really great job. And one thing about this movie I really appreciated was, going into it, I thought the tone would be very, very kind of doom and gloom from the get-go.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Like, you go into it from the preview knowing that something bad happens.
Yeah.
Right?
But they did a really good job actually, like, letting us get to know the characters and why everything is at stake and what is at stake here. In a thumbs up, thumbs down world, definitely a thumbs up. I thought it was definitely.
If you like true stories, if you like intense, suspenseful, go for it.
So that is Last Breath. As now we'll go ahead and go to a movie that you saw while I was out of town. A big reason why. How do I say it? I mean, a big reason why you saw this was I was out of town for it. So,
right.
But
it wasn't that he didn't.
Yeah,
want
it wasn't
to
that
see
I didn't.
It was just
Yeah.
time. And,
And it is
timing.
Mickey 17. So what do you got for that?
Okay, so I tried to watch this one with the eyes of, we live in a world where Everything Everywhere All at Once got an Oscar, right? Crazy, intense movie. Not intense. It's just a really out there, whimsical kind of movie, if you've seen that one. And this movie, Mickey 17, definitely kind of exists within that world. Strange sci-fi. It's and I don't mean to connect the two too much. I'm just saying similar kind of situation. However, I don't think people are going to be talking about this one given enough time. I like a good weird film. There were certain highlights for sure. Robert Pattinson is a great actor. I think, you know, there's a movie reviewer we follow that teases that for the yeah, for the longest time people just knew him as Twilight Boy. And to this day, we really want to make a Batman T-shirt that just says Twilight Boy. But anyway, since the Batman, we ought to know, and with some other projects that he's done, he did one with Willem Dafoe, I think. Mm-hmm. Good actor. Does a really interesting job diving into this kind of strange character. And a couple more highlights for me: Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette, definitely fantastic. Pretty sure Mark Ruffalo took inspiration from some weird combo of the behavior of Hugh Hefner and Donald Trump a little bit, like their characteristics. I feel like he like infused into this character. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that had something to do with it. Some fun design with, you know, creepy alien creatures and you know, stuff like that. So it had that fun, whimsical quality to it. However, I felt that the story and the plot line were really inconsistent. I forgot to give them a quick plot of this, but you've seen probably in the previews, Robert Pattinson's character exists in a world where you can duplicate humans. You can literally clone humans. But there's a whole thing with the political structure of the world that they live in where they decide that this is inhumane, but it could be used if you're off-world in outer space and you need somebody to do a job that they're going to die, right? So the premise is that he just keeps dying and they reprint him and he continues to do his job. And then there's a predicament where they accidentally print another version of him before the other one died. And so there's this whole ethical thing there, but then they're also dealing with ethical questions about the native aliens on the planet that they've they're starting to want to occupy, whatever, kind of classic sci-fi. But again, this story took so many twists and turns in strange directions that didn't feel purposeful to me. It could be argued in something like Everywhere All at Once that there was kind of a lot of symbolism behind it, some reasoning behind it, but this just kind of felt crazy to me. It was just like, okay, guys, you know,
it felt crazy to you.
You're being artsy, good for you. I don't know. It wasn't like I didn't have as much fun with it as I was hoping, but the actors did a good job. So that was kind of the only highlight for me, was just funny performances from the actors in characters that we haven't seen them do yet. So that's where I was at with
that's Mickey 17, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now the next one we saw was Black Bag. And that one was, I don't want to say, well, it's interesting because I remember when the trailer came out and it was one of those ones where I was immediately just kind of like, I'm in. I want to see that.
Yeah.
And you, on the other hand, were a little bit more,
I was just kind of like
pessimistic.
Sure. Yeah. I was like, nah, okay. Doesn't look like anything special to me.
I'm seeing a trend here.
What's that trend?
The trend is that when we saw the trailer for Better Man, I was like, I want to see that. And you're like, okay. And then we walked out of it. What were you saying? Great things about it.
Yeah, okay.
And then, spoiler alert, we loved Black Bag.
We loved Black Bag.
It was really, really cool.
Let me tell you this. If you had the impression that I did during that preview that is basically like a higher stakes, classier Mr. and Mrs. Smith, it's not. It actually is not. That was what kind of turned me off. I just get bored by that story. And I'm not that into spy flicks, I guess, in general. This one had me. I was like, okay, they're actually doing something different with this. And I liked that. So if that was something that you thought and you didn't like that, then you might be pleasantly surprised by this.
One thing, I mean, I'm kind of a sucker for those Euro kind of high stakes spy kind of psychological thriller type things. And this movie, I thought, definitely was that. Um, that scene right there, it's one of the most tense scenes of the film, and it's all built by dialogue.
Yes. Oh, that's another thing about this movie, dialogue. It's so dialogue driven, and you think a spy movie, it's just going to be action, action, action. But the most intense, have you on the edge of your seat moments, not just in that scene, but for sure throughout the movie, dialogue is what keeps you on the edge of your seat.
Yeah. And the plot, because not as simple as it's not as simple as just what it's pretty complicated what are expecting. So let me just read it. What is beloved expected portraying House Catherine, by the way, a Fassbender, takes the ultimate test, loyalty to his marriage or his country. And that kind of paints it as if they're going to be on kind of clashing sides. I'm not going to tell you how that all resolves, but I thought it was very good how it was resolved.
Yeah. This one's a thinker. You got to kind of have your brain turned on, ready to go, paying attention to every little detail.
Yeah.
So actually might not be the movie for you. It's a little bit of a thinker.
One thing I really thought was impressive about it was, of course, I thought that Michael Fassbender, he was great. I also really liked the supporting cast. We're gonna let some of those stills play. They were really, really good from top to bottom. Really, Jean Page, I think is his name. Everybody knows him from Bridgerton. I thought he was excellent in it. Naomi, the one in the middle right now. She won an Oscar for Moonlight not too long ago.
I recognized her as Calypso from Pirates, which she was also fantastic in. But.
Yes, absolutely. She was fantastic in that movie as well. She has a scene where she goes one-on-one with Cate Blanchett, and it's impressive what she pulls off in
Who knew she could go toe-to-toe with her acting-wise? That was impressive.
Harris. Yeah, Naomi Harris. So, sorry, live stream, we'd normally be a lot more prepared, but this was one of those ones where we're like, let's just go live and see what happens. So, but bottom line, I loved Black Bag. It's we've seen now 8 movies this year, including the one you saw and the one I saw that the other one didn't see. And right now it's at the top of my list.
Yeah, mine too.
So, yeah, Black Bag was definitely awesome. So from one great film to one that I think a lot of people had a lot of worries about.
Anticipation, concern.
And of course we are talking about Disney's live action Snow White. And
where do we start?
All right, let's start with the positive.
Okay.
Let's start with the positive.
Okay.
I think Rachel Zegler is one of the best musical actresses going right now.
Agreed.
Yes, there's the controversy around her, but basing it solely on her talent, I think she's one of the best. Her and Cynthia Erivo are probably the top 2 right now.
Yeah, agreed. With the material she was given, she did a perfectly polished Disney princess job, which is fantastic. What else was positive? Do you have anything else? Was that the only thing? I'm gonna say this was positive. Visually, it's beautiful. It's so nice to look at. The forest and but even then, that's not 100% for me. I'm going to go ahead and segue into some of the negative. I really tried to go in with an open mind about the 7 dwarfs, because you've already seen in the preview, they are that uncanny valley CGI. They went full fantasy creature with the Seven Dwarfs instead of casting actors with dwarfism, which I understand. It's kind of a controversial thing, isn't it? I think on one hand, I think that a lot of actors with dwarfism, this is solely based on what I've seen online, so please correct me if I'm getting some of this wrong. Some of them are like, why are we only playing dwarves and hobbits? You know, why are we only like the Seven Dwarves and Snow White, or, you know, whatever. And then on the other hand, not casting real actors is a little bit, to me, it's wasteful. And I would have much rather seen real actors doing acting jobs. Now, they did cast one actor with dwarfism, not as one of the Seven Dwarfs, but it felt a little bit like a weird, like,
kind of
compensation.
For it.
Yeah, but it's not even for the sake of, like, you know, oh, we need to be all totally politically correct. I'm not even going in that direction. I'm just saying I'd rather watch real actors as far as enjoying the film. That's it. So, yeah, what are your thoughts? That was one of my negatives on it.
I'm looking for more positives. I really am.
Yeah.
The opening number I thought was good.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
The music after that I thought was a little. We've heard it before.
Yeah.
I mean, from the get-go, I looked at her in the theater and I said, "This sounds a little Greatest Showman-y." And sure enough, we look it up, and it is. Yes, those are great, but it almost seemed like songs that were recycled a little bit from it. But the opening number was really great. Yeah. But I looked at you and I said that, and then we looked up, like, yep, that's true.
Can I speak to that too? Yeah. I was gonna say, so it's Pasek and Paul that does the music, which are the same guys that did The Greatest Showman. But here's the thing, like, we have so many examples of the same composer films, but each film is still fantastic, right? We had that whole era of Alan Menken all over the place, and each film was unique and fantastic. I would argue that most of the time, Lin-Manuel Miranda's job is great. There's been a couple exceptions lately that I didn't think were the strongest, but still, each film is still fantastic. The Greatest Showman is, in my opinion, one of the best musicals out there today. And so I got to give them that, but they really didn't rise to that occasion with this one, in my opinion, you know? So I'm not saying they're not capable. I just was really sad. I would have been fine with music that has that flair. In fact, I would have been excited about it, but it needed to feel like its own film still with its own music. I don't know. I'm just rambling, I guess, but that was kind of where I was trying to go with that. Like, it still could have been so good with them as the composers, but yeah, that was rough.
I had one major issue, the majorest issue, and it is
as much as we love Gal Gadot.
Yeah, that scene right there, it just that song, it's
so cringy.
Well, here's the problem, and here's the problem. I think the evil queen is supposed to be evil.
Yeah,
I didn't get.
She's one of the scariest animated ones.
I didn't get so much evil as I got kind of punny.
Yeah.
Like, she's a punny villain, and it's like, and I don't know if that was the direction she was given or what, but I thought that was
I think that's how we kind of recognize, like, this overall was not great. Her writing wasn't good, her design okay, maybe her costuming was okay, but other than that, her songs not great. So just that was really, really rough. And she's one of the scarier villains, if you ask me, in the animated film.
I understand why they cast Gal Gadot.
Sure, casting wasn't necessarily the problem, I think. Yeah.
I think there was probably a little bit of lack of direction, and I'm interested to know if these are the last remnants of the Chapek era. I mean, I'd show that picture again, because you see it's kind of obviously they're in the middle of a musical number,
Mm-hmm.
and of course she's talking about she's the fairest of them all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the song goes something along like all is fair when you're a queen, and she's using like the puns with fairest of them. And it's like, this is your whole motivation for being one of the most evil villains in Disney canon, and it's turned into a pun. Maybe I'm being overly harsh on it, but
that's the tough thing. You know, when we watch with adult eyes on this, we're going to see it differently than maybe you take your 6-year-old to this and she's just enthralled, or he and just loves it.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful. That's awesome. I just love it when a Disney film just transcends. You know, when we got Pirates of the Caribbean, it was everybody loves it, right? It doesn't matter if you're a kid or an adult. And I think when they do a live action, that's what I'm hoping to get out of it. And
I think we're at the point where we need to stop. Okay, I'm a huge Disney fan. I'm about to say something that might piss a lot of Disney people off.
That's okay. Nobody watches our show.
Yeah, nobody's watching this anyways. This is just for fun. I think that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Cinderella, they're kind of weak story-wise. They're very straightforward.
Yeah.
Look at when we've had good live-action remakes, what have they been on?
It's been kind of the action-packed ones.
Yeah, with the exception of Cinderella, but Kenneth Branagh is amazing.
Yeah.
But like Aladdin is considered one of the better ones. Lion King, even though it's a shot-by-shot remake and a lot of people feel different about it now, that movie still made enough money that they went and made Mufasa.
Yeah.
I think if we're going to do live-action remakes, we need to start looking at ones that are strong story-wise and have action elements to it.
Yeah.
Like a Hercules one, I would be okay with. This is wishful thinking, but an Atlantis Lost Empire, I would be okay with. I would love A Hunchback of Notre Dame because I think of the Renaissance, those are the strongest story-wise. I think we need to not do the classic Disney princess ones, and I think if we're gonna do live action, we need to do strong story-driven action type film stories.
And I want it to kind of be its own thing too. I personally, and I'm not against, you know, if I hear they're gonna do a live action like you're talking about, then I'll be excited. But I wouldn't mind if they just came up with some new IP. I'm not even one of those people that's like, oh, let's stop rehashing all the same stories. If they do a good job, they do a good job, and I'm excited to see it. But I don't know. I'm just getting tired. And so part of me is like, maybe we just need something totally fresh and new for a little while to get excited about it again. I think a lot of the problem for me with Snow White, and it's been years since I've seen this, but it felt more like watching a Descendants movie sometimes. Which is very cute. They're very cute movies.
They have their place.
Yes. And if you have kids who are big fans of those shows, maybe, you know, take them to it. Maybe they'll just love it. And that's wonderful. We want people to like it. But just to give you a feel for what they did with this, it felt like watching Descendants. It was corny. It was not as polished. Anyway.
Positives, Rachel Ziegler, I thought is extremely talented.
Yep, a couple of Disney kids just sad over here.
I'm really trying to find more. I'm really trying to find more.
It's hard.
I just thought of another negative, and I feel like we've already beaten this horse to death, so I'm not going to continue that. So I think we'll move on to our final movie, which is a movie that you did not see, but I actually went and saw by myself because you didn't have really much interest seeing it, and that is Robert De Niro's Alto, the Alto Knights. Robert De Niro plays two roles in this film. One is Vito, what's his name? Vincenzi, I think is his name. I'm gonna look it up. But
you can keep talking. I'll look it up.
There it is. The Ultimates. Vito himself, Costello, and then Genovese they put on I'm just gonna show the
Just like more makeup, prosthetic.
yeah. It's kind of it's difficult to
Yeah,
describe. I
probably
feel.
some like makeup and little prosthetic
Yeah,
pieces.
that's him as Vito Genovese or what Genovese or however you say that name, and you can tell it's him, but they gave him makeup prosthetics. I think it's a little bit of I don't want to say gimmick or stunt for him to be playing both, but he did not need to be playing both. I thought his performance, actually Robert De Niro's performance as both of them was good. I would have been okay if he played either one of them.
Right.
But what kind of took me out of it was like, okay, he's playing both of them, but there's flashback scenes where there's two different actors playing the characters, the younger versions of them.
Yeah.
That being said, there are some positives here. The pace is breakneck. It's going. I liked that, but that's also a double-edged sword because I also felt like watching a slideshow in a lot of ways. It had a lot of those old kind of cuts that you used to see where the scene would end, it would fade to black, and then boom, we're in another scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like they're trying to put the mob movie kind of feel to it.
Kind of, but at the same time, it wasn't. There was. When you go to a mob movie, you're expecting a certain level of action and kind of violence.
Yeah.
That was not there.
Okay.
It's very much dialogue. It's very. I thought it was very dialogue driven. I thought it was very, a lot of backstory. Okay. One of the characters narrates the film, which I've never been a fan of. Is the narration piece of things.
I agree. I don't mind when it starts with it, but if it's just through the whole thing, I'm usually kind of like, okay.
And there's some things that happen at the end of this movie. I'm just kind of makes you tilt your head, like, huh? Why would you feel that way? I will say the climax of the movie, I thought was. It's not the climax you would picture in a mob movie.
Okay.
It's very much a cerebral kind of outthinking them type climax.
Okay.
And I thought that was kind of fun. Robert De Niro, he's a great actor. You're not going to take that away from him. I thought that this film, the script didn't really play to his strengths, but again, he's got to be in his 80s now, and you're not going to expect him to be like big action star anymore. Yeah. So I understand that. But there were other characters played by younger actors where you could have kind of got that action. Also, it's based on a true story, and if there's really not that much action in the story, you don't want to fabricate it.
You're just telling the story.
But I felt the way they felt, the format in which they told the story felt really choppy. Okay. Like, it was fast, it was a good pace, but it wasn't smooth. Okay. Is how the best way I could say that. Gotcha. I'm going through the rest of my stills here. Anytime I want to say but Robert De Niro was on the screen as both characters, it's hard for me to say that it was the dialogue. The dialogue obviously is great, but he's acting against himself as opposed to himself. But there's one scene in particular that's pretty riveting. And then there's.
So I have a question about that, if that's okay, on that topic. So one of the things in acting that I know is a big kind of it can affect what happens in the scene when the two characters have chemistry and they're able to build a scene together, reacting and responding off of each other. Now, in many cases, even when you have a movie chocked full of that, maybe that actor is off doing something else or couldn't be there that day, so the other guy's actually just talking to a tennis ball. I understand that still happens a lot, but more often than not, in the films, in an intense scene like that, you can get both actors going back and forth. Yeah. Do you feel like him probably maybe he did that sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. He had.
But like did we lack chemistry because
No.
he was okay?
No.
Okay.
That
good.
was the interesting thing, is that he didn't lack. I don't think he lacked. I felt like he didn't lack.
Which
chemistry.
is, I mean, kudos.
Yeah,
right?
which
That's
you would
cool.
imagine that would actually be pretty difficult, because these are two completely different characters.
Right.
There's some really good lines in here.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's one where they're talking about paranoia, and he says, this person's paranoid about this person's paranoid about this, but the thing is he's paranoid about these things that he's already doing, that he's doing to other people. So in his mind, it's I'm doing them to people. I know that person's doing it to me. You know? So I thought that was a really really cool line. I enjoyed it. Okay. I'm giving it a thumbs up.
Okay.
But it's really inconsistent.
Gotcha.
It's very the highs are high,
yeah,
and the lows, I wouldn't say are super low.
Yeah.
But they're not. I feel like a good movie, you want this, or you want this, but you don't want to come down.
Yeah.
Here's they take you up here with some moments, and then they drop you a little bit more.
So if anybody watching is a fan of mobster movies, they should see this.
Yeah, I think it's still a really fun movie. They do a really good job with a lot of things in it, but
yeah,
the biggest thing that was, it's weird because I'm being a horrible critic here.
That's okay. I do it all the time.
Let me think. I don't think that I'm trying to figure out the words to say. Okay. So I don't think that it's as much. I think it would have been a stronger movie had you had another actor opposite Robert De Niro playing the other role.
Well, okay.
Because that because you're watching this movie in the back of your mind, the trailer puts it front and center. Robert De Niro is this person. Robert De Niro is this person, and they're going against each other.
So you think it's distracting?
I think it's just. I was going to say it's in the back of your mind. It's in the back of your mind. Gotcha. That's happening, and I feel like for something like that, you want it to be more on the side of who's someone that played multiple roles in a movie, but they don't make a huge deal out of it, and it works.
I lost you there.
Who's someone who plays in that situation, but it's not part of a major part of the promotion, and it worked. There's
who's somebody in what situation?
In that situation where they played two different characters in the same movie. But
I thought it was The Parent Trap, but
that's actually a good point.
Okay.
Those two characters are in The Parent Trap are different enough.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like there was enough differences
between
the two.
That's just a silly movie, so it's,
I know,
maybe they
I didn't feel like there was enough differences between the two characters.
Okay.
And that's no fault of Robert De Niro's at all.
Sure.
It's two Italian mobsters.
Yeah.
There's only some.
There could be a lot.
So, and I thought the big difference was the makeup job. That's how you ultimately could tell.
So maybe some nods to makeup. It does look like it's well done that way.
And some of the dialogue.
Okay. Yeah.
The one character has a certain way of speaking, and another character has another way of speaking. Yeah. But their voices sound very familiar. And
Okay.
I will say I thought the supporting cast was very good. I thought Deborah Messing as Frank Costello's wife was very good. So that was really well done. There's some other supporting actors that I thought did a really good job in this. So overall, is it a perfect movie? No. Is it going to be one we talk about come Oscar season? No. But I enjoyed it enough that I would definitely rewatch it again.
Oh, okay. Very good. Most of that review, I kind of thought we were going towards not rewatching.
I know, that's the thing that
you're really torn on this.
I'm really torn because there's enough there that I would understand why you're saying that.
Okay.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I love mob movies. And you know that.
Yeah.
And I guess it's like pizza to me. Even a not so great mob movie is not so great pizza. I
love sci-fi, but I'm not gonna bother with Mickey 17 again. And I feel like I had more positives about that one than you had about
that. Well,
this one. Anyway.
I also think that's because there's a lot more sci-fi out there than mob.
Yeah,
movies.
that's fair.
So whenever you get one, you gotta be.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would watch it again. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, one of the weakest mob movies out there is Black
Yeah.
Mass, and I would watch that one again. I'd watch Public
I
Enemies
actually,
again.
yeah.
Like with about John Dillinger. I would
Yeah.
watch. Like if it's a mob movie, I'll probably most likely say I'll watch it again. On the rank, is it The Departed? Is it
Sure.
all those other ones? No, it's not. But
Is it Mickey Blue Eyes? No. Just kidding. I really like that.
Yeah, I know.
It's an old like.
So that's what we got here. So that was our reviews of Last Breath, your review of Mickey 17,
Yeah.
our review of Black Bag and Snow White, and my convoluted, I don't even know what that was
That's okay.
about Alto Nights. But bottom of the end of the day, if you like mob movies, go check it out, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
If you're not a fan of mob movies, probably wouldn't be
Don't bother.
something you're interested in.
Okay.
I do want you to see it because I want to get your thoughts at some point. But that's
Yeah, because I don't. To be clear, I don't hate mob movies. I'm just not that much into them. So with our time frame and my work, we were just kind of like, you should just go see it, and then So sounds like I feel like I'm not gonna bother with it. But if you really want me
I want it. Well, I want you to see things just because I want your thoughts on things. But if you don't want to, I'm not gonna make you.
Oh well, okay.
But so that is this video, this live stream. We did it this way because we figured it'd be kind of a fun way to kind of mix things up.
Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you are a viewer, or one of our one or two viewers,
Right.
hop on and say if you like this format, if you prefer the others, and we'll just kind of keep going with throwing out some new ideas and trying new things on this channel.
I will say that it was a lot easier editing wise and production wise to do it this way, but we also made some mistakes on it as well.
Sure,
So,
you have to hear us ramble. And
well, that and on the technical side, but
that's okay.
so appreciate you for tuning in and watching. We have plans to go see another movie next week. We don't know if that's going to work out though, so we're not going to make any commitments to it. But we do have some movies that are coming up that we're excited about. So stay tuned to the channel, and we'll have another review out soon. So this has been the review roundup on Meet in the Middle Movies. I'm Elan.
I'm Mindee.
And